Well, very sad stories coming through as well. Residents are crying for help and fleeing to rooftops to escape rising floodwaters as Hurricane Dorian batters the Bahamas. Here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5 for more.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. Residents of the northern Bahamas, some trapped on the roofs of homes, have sent out pleas for help after Hurricane Dorian stalled over the area. The storm has killed at least 5 people when it hit Abaco Islands at Category 5 with 185 mile-an-hour winds. Grand Bahamas International Airport was under 6 foot of water, while residents posted videos of the devastation to their homes on social media. This in Marsh Harbour in Abaco Islands. Meanwhile, this was the scene a short while ago in Nassau, the capital of the Bahamas. The strength of the storm has since dropped to a Category 3, but it's the speed it's moving through the islands that is causing a lot of the damage. The most recent update from the US National Hurricane Center placed Dorian just north of Grand Bahama, home to about 50,000 people, having moved barely 20 kilometers in a day.
Thus far, the Royal Bahamas Police Force has confirmed that there are 5 deaths in Abaco. We are in the midst of a historic tragedy in parts of northern Bahamas. Our mission and focus now is search, rescue and recovery.
Meanwhile, residents along the east coast of the US are preparing for the storm to hit them. Here, elderly residents boarding a bus in Kissimmee in Florida to take them to a shelter.
People need to remain vigilant. If you're ordered to evacuate, you need to do that. From Palm Beach County all the way up to Nassau, the Florida-Georgia border, all those coastal counties have issued evacuation orders.
25 bodies have been found after a boat was destroyed by fire off the coast of California. This was the Mayday call made from the scuba diving boat that caught fire off the coast of California. This shows fire teams attempting to put out the blaze on the Conception, a commercial diving boat which sank early on Monday morning. The cause of the blaze was not immediately clear. Citing the US Coast Guard, media reports said 9 people were missing while 5 crew members had survived. The fire started in the early hours of Monday while the boat was anchored meters off Santa Cruz Island, about 90 miles west of Los Angeles. Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam has denied ever offering to resign after audio was leaked of her saying she would if she could.
For a chief executive to have caused this huge havoc to Hong Kong is unforgivable. It's just unforgivable. If I have a choice, the first thing is to quit. Having made a deep apology is to step down.
But a day later, she said she had never tendered any resignation.
Throughout this period, that is from the very beginning till now, I have never tendered a resignation to the Central People's Government.
Iran's president had said it will never hold bilateral talks with the United States. However, Hassan Rouhani said if it lifts all the sanctions it reimposed on Iran, it can join multilateral talks between Iran and other parties to a 2015 nuclear deal. It's after US President Donald Trump had offered to meet its leaders and hold bilateral talks. A no-deal Brexit is a very distinct possibility, that's according to the EU's executive. As a result, Mina Andreeva said European Union citizens and businesses must be ready for Britain's departure on October the 31st.
Whether it's the most likely scenario, I would say that it is a very distinct possibility, which is precisely the reason why we do launch this final call tomorrow for everyone to be prepared in case a no-deal Brexit occurs.
Justin Bieber has written an emotional essay about how he became the most hated person in the world thanks to a string of bad decisions in his 20s.
What'd you say?
The star, involved in this incident in London in 2013, has been arrested on several occasions. In the long post on Instagram, he admitted to heavy drug use and abusing his relationships. The Canadian star, who has been candid about his mental health struggles, explained how the constant praise he received in his teens had distorted his perspective on life. And finally, animals living in a South Korean zoo have been celebrating the upcoming Korean Thanksgiving. Zookeepers of Everland Amusement Park, around 50 kilometers south of Seoul, prepared traditional Korean plates with fruits like bananas, apples and tomatoes for the animals. Koreans observe the traditional harvest festival called Chuseok, visiting their ancestral hometowns and sharing traditional food during the three-day holiday. The annual holiday will fall on September the 13th this year. And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Many thanks indeed, Simon Pusey. Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's Super Falcons advanced to the next round of the 2020 Olympics qualifiers after beating Algeria. Stay with us. The United States Institute of Peace is holding a policy roundtable on elections in Nigeria in the nation's capital, Abuja. It is being chaired by the former INEC chairman, Professor Tahiru Jega, who says that the deliberations are important if Nigeria is to build on its electoral successes and address failings in past elections.
Since the 2011 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has striven to ensure greater integrity to the preparation and conduct of elections in Nigeria. An improved legal framework relative to what obtained prior to 2010, repositioning of the election management body through restructuring and reorganization, and series of innovations in respect of electoral processes and procedures, citizens' engagement, electoral security, and use of technology have combined to raise the bar of credibility of Nigerian elections. With the raising of the bar, of course, popular expectations were also remarkably raised for remarkable incremental positive changes in subsequent elections. The 2019 elections have come and gone, but in their trail, there is widespread recognition that a lot more needs to be done to consolidate the reform processes, to avoid a slide back to the old habits of incredible elections, and deepen electoral democracy in Nigeria.
Time now for sports news with Neil Tegby.
Welcome to Sports News. The Super Falcons of Nigeria are through to the third round of the 2020 Tokyo Olympic qualifiers. The African champions defeated Algeria 1-0 in the second leg, played today at their Agege Township Stadium in Lagos to progress on a 3-0 aggregate. Algeria did well to keep out Super Falcons in the first 45 minutes before FC Barcelona star Sisat Oshola broke the deadlock just before the hour. The Super Falcons will now battle Cote d'Ivoire in the next round of the qualifiers later in this month. And the national... And on male football, the national under-23 head coach Imama Makmakabo has picked team captain Azubike Okechukwu, forward Stephen Ode and Taiwo Awoni and 15 other players for Thursday's under-23 African qualifiers against Sudan in Omdurman. The Olympic Eagles are scheduled to play their first leg of the final of the under-23 African qualifiers against the Sudanese at the Al Marik Stadium in Omdurman. The return leg is built for Stephen Keshi Stadium, Asaba, on Tuesday next week. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has picked officials from Djibouti to take charge of the proceedings. Suleiman Ahmad Njama is the center referee. In the meantime, the World Football Governing Body FIFA has confirmed 8 member associations have indicated their participation in the bidding process for the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023, the first ever edition of the tournament that will feature 32 teams. So far, Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Colombia, Japan, Korea, New Zealand and South Africa are in contention for the biggest football showpiece for women. FIFA says the 8 member associations have until December the 13th to submit their bid books and bidding documents to FIFA. FIFA is set to conduct official inspections to the relevant member associations in January and February 2020, and the appointment of a host is expected for May 2020. In basketball, Nigeria's D Tigers' hope of advancing to the second round of the FIBA Basketball World Cup has been dashed after group opponents Russia beat Korea 87-73 to join Argentina in the next round. D Tigers now settle for the classification game against their final group game against Korea on Wednesday at the Wonan Sports Center. The Tigers will get to know their group opponents in the classification after all final group games are decided on Thursday. Both Russia and Argentina remain unbeaten in Group B. And finally, South Africa named a strong side for their final World Cup warm-up match against hosts Japan, with head coach Erassi Erasmus viewing Friday's contest as a perfect preparation for their tournament opener against New Zealand. Erasmus made wholesale changes to the squad from the victory over Argentina last month, with captain Sia Kolisi returning at the flanker for the clash in Kumagaya. Erasmus says he picked a strong squad because of the respect the Springboks still hold for Japan, who famously beat them in the pool stages in Brighton 4 years ago. That's it on sports news. Gimba is back for the rest of the world news at 10.
And the main news again, Nigeria's leaders today condemned the violent attacks on Nigerians in South Africa, while President Muhammadu Buhari sent a special envoy to President Cyril Ramaphosa to convey his concerns. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo criticized the wanton killings, saying they are against the ideals of anti-apartheid leaders. Also today, the South African President Ramaphosa condemned the attacks on foreigners in South Africa, saying that there is no justification for the violence. And residents of the Bahamas today fled to the roofs to escape rising floodwaters as Hurricane Dorian continued to hover above the island. And that's how it's been on the news at 10 tonight. I want to thank you so much indeed for being a part of it. On behalf of all of us here, have a splendid night. Good night.